see that in another video, guys. Anyway, so it's been a month and I haven't filmed part 2 of this because unfortunately, I did. I filmed part 2. I filmed reading the second part of the prologue, and essentially what happened is it got lost. Well, it didn't get lost. I was uploading the footage from that, and the footage elongated itself. It elongated itself, and basically what ended up happening is it was what was originally like about an hour, like 45 minutes to an hour, and it became a 4-hour video, and it was in slow motion of me reading just the second part of the prologue of this, and I've been wanting to get through this so bad. But reading a prologue can be very painful. It can be very painfully slow. But I'm here again today to reread this painful second part prologue of the prologue, so that we can finally move on to the story. But yes, it's been a month. And I'm probably gonna do the chapter 1 reading today as well. Maybe I'll upload both at the same time as like a little treat. I kind of would like to do a little bit of a soft-spoken video for this. I think it would be a little bit better on my voice than whispering, and yeah, but I've been filming a lot of videos today, so if those videos that are, incrementally published are like, I've been under the weather for the past couple of days. I'm not under the weather for like 3 weeks in a row. It's just this one day that I am filming a lot. Sorry that got a little bit loud and that wasn't soft-spoken. I need to be soft-spoken, and because it's an ASMR video still, but we're gonna do ASMR soft-spoken, except I'm bad at that a little bit, but yeah, I kind of like it though. I kind of like the soft-spoken vibe. I don't know about you guys, but let me know. So yeah, let's get into it. Again, for me, not for you, but for me. Maybe you've already read this. I don't know. So I'm actually gonna kind of twist this a little bit, I think, and move it over here so I can have it like this while I read, so I can kind of read into it. And look here, hello. I'm probably gonna change which way. Oh, it's already on that setting. Perfect. Hello. Okay, so this is the second part of the prologue. Literally anticipatory ASMR. Sorry if my lips look a little bit crusty. I think I'm having a bad reaction to this lip gloss, because I think it's starting to get too old, and I put it on a lot. I think it might be expired now. Yeah, I've had it for a little bit too long. Anyway, concerning pipeweed. There is another astonishing thing about hobbits of old that must be mentioned, an astonishing habit. They imbibed or inhaled through pipes of clay or wood the smoke of the burning leaves of the herb, which they called pipeweed or leaf, a variety probably of nicotiana. A great deal of mystery surrounds the origin of this peculiar custom, or art, as the hobbits preferred to call it. All that could be discovered about it in antiquity was put together by Meriadoc Brandybuck, later Master of Buckland. And since he and the tobacco of the South Farthing play a part in the history that follows, his remarks in the introduction to his herb lore of the Shire may be quoted. This, he says, is the one art that we can certainly claim to be our own invention. When hobbits first began to smoke is not known. All the legends and family histories take it for granted. For ages, folk in the Shire smoked various herbs, some fouler, some sweeter. But all accounts agree that to bold hornblower of Long Bottom in the South Farthing first grew the true pipeweed in his gardens in the days of Isengrim II, about the year 1070 of Shire reckoning. The best homegrown still comes from that district, especially the varieties now known as Longbottom Leaf, Old Toby, and Southern Star. How Old Toby came by the plant is not recorded, for to his dying day he would not tell. He knew much about herbs, but he was no traveler. It is said that in his youth he went often to Bree, though he certainly never went further from the Shire than that. It is thus quite possible that he learned of this plant in Bree, where now, at any rate, it grows well on the south slopes of the hill. The Bree hobbits claim to have been the first actual smokers of the pipeweed. They claim, of course, to have done everything before the people of the Shire, whom they refer to as colonists, but in this case their claim is, I think, likely to be true. And certainly it was from Bree that the art of smoking the genuine weed spread in the recent centuries among dwarves and such other folk, rangers, wizards, or wanderers, as still pass to and fro through that ancient road meeting. The home and center of the art is thus to be found in the old inn of Bree, the prancing pony, that has been kept by the family of Butterbur from time beyond record. All the same, observations that I have made on my own many journeys south have convinced me that the weed itself is not native to our parts of the world, but came northward from the lower Anduin, whither it was, I suspect, originally brought over sea by the men of Westerness. It grows abundantly in Gondor, and there is richer and larger than in the north, where it is never found wild and flourishes only in warm, sheltered places like Long Bottom. The men of Gondor call it sweet galenas, and esteem it only for the fragrance of its flowers. From that land it must have been carried up the Greenway during the long centuries between the coming of Elendil and our own days. But even the Dunedain of Gondor allow us this credit. Hobbits first put it into pipes. Not even the wizards first thought of that before we did, though one wizard that I knew took up the art long ago and became as skillful in it as in all other things that he put his mind to. It said in the book it's probably some sort of like nicotiana, so like probably like nicotine, so like tobacco, but I'm still gonna choose to believe that because then it says the genuine weed. I don't know, I think that's funny. So the next part, the third part of the prologue, I think there's like 4 or 5. 4. The fourth is really long. It's longer. Yeah, there's 4 parts, but then there's like notes on the Shire record, so it's kind of like 5. Okay, the third part of the ordering of the Shire. The Shire was divided into 4 quarters. The farthings already referred to north, south, east, and west, and these again each... Sorry about that. I think it's a plane. Yeah. So, there's that. Yeah. Okay. And these again each into a number of folklands, which still bore the names of some of the old leading families, and although by the time of this history these names were no longer found only in their proper folklands, nearly all Tooks still lived in the Tookland, but that was not true of many other families, such as the Baggins or the Bowfins. Outside the farthings were the east and west marches, the Buckland, and the west march added to the Shire in SR 1462. The Shire at this time had hardly any government. Families for the most part managed their own affairs, growing food and eating it occupied most of their time. In other matters they were, as a rule, generous and not greedy, but contented and moderate, so that estates, farms, workshops, and small trades tended to remain unchanged for generations. There remained, of course, the ancient tradition concerning the High King at Fornost, or Norbury as they called it, away north of the Shire. But there had been no king for nearly 1,000 years, and even the ruins of King's Norbury were covered with grass. Yet the hobbits still said of wild folk and wicked things, such as trolls, that they had not heard of the king, for they attributed to the king of old all their essential laws, and usually they kept the laws of free will, because they were the rules, as they said, both ancient and just. It is true that the Took family had long been preeminent, for the office of Thane had passed to them from the old Bucks some centuries before, and the chief Took had borne that title ever since. The Thane was the master of the Shire Moot and captain of the Shire muster in the Hobbitry Arms, but as muster and moot were only held in times of emergency, which no longer occurred, the Thaneship had ceased to be more than a nominal dignity. The Took family was still, indeed, accorded a special respect, for it remained both numerous and exceedingly wealthy, and was liable to produce in every generation strong characters of peculiar habits and even adventurous temperament. The latter qualities, however, were now rather tolerated in the rich than generally approved. The custom endured, none the less, of referring to the head of the family as the Took, and of adding to his name, if required, a number, such as Isengrim II, for instance. The only real official in the Shire at this date was the mayor of Michel Delving, or of the Shire, who was elected every 7 years at the free fair of the White Downs of the Lythe, that is, the midsummer. As mayor, almost his only duty was to preside at banquets given on the Shire holidays, which occurred at frequent intervals. But the offices of postmaster and first sheriff were attached to the mayoralty, so that he managed both the messenger service and the watch. These were the only Shire services, and the messengers were the most numerous and much the busier of the two. By no means all hobbits were lettered, but those who were wrote constantly to all their friends and a selection of their relations who lived further off than an afternoon's walk. The sheriffs was the name that the hobbit gave to their police, or the nearest equivalent that they possessed. They had, of course, no uniforms, such things being quite unknown, only a feather in their caps, and they were in practice rather Haywards than policemen, more concerned with the straying of beasts than of people. There were in all the Shire only 12 of them, 3 in each farthing for inside work. A rather larger body, varying at need, was employed to beat the bounds, and to see that outsiders of any kind, great or small, did not make themselves a nuisance. At the time when this story begins, the bounders, as they were called, had been greatly increased. There were many reports and complaints of strange persons and creatures prowling about the borders, or over them. The first sign that all was not quite as it should be, and always had been except in tales and legends of long ago. Few heeded this sign, and not even Bilbo yet had any notion of what it portended. 60 years had passed since he set out on his memorable journey, and he was old even for hobbits, who reached 100 as often as not, but much evidently still remained of the considerable wealth that he had brought back. How much or how little he revealed to no one, not even to Frodo, his favorite nephew, and he still kept the secret, the ring that he had found. On to part 4, which is of the finding of the ring. This is like a fun part. It goes over, I don't know if you've ever seen The Hobbit, and I haven't read The Hobbit on here, but it goes over the events of that. So, yeah, part 4. This video is actually going by quite, a lot quicker than when I first made it. I think part 4 was took me 30 minutes. Maybe I just go slower when I whisper. Who knows? Anyway. But I really do like doing the soft spoken. And maybe I'll switch off. I'll just do whenever I want. Anyway. Because The Long Expected Party is a long chapter too. I don't know if I can fit that. I mean, yeah. How many? Sorry, quick break. It's about 22 pages. It's not that bad. But I've only really been reading 10 at once. And it takes a bit of time. Anyway. Of the finding of the ring. As is told in The Hobbit, there came one day to Bilbo's door the great wizard, Gandalf the Grey, and 13 dwarves with him. None other, indeed, than Thorin Oakenshield, descendant of kings, and his 12 companions in exile. With them, he set out on his own lasting astonishment on the morning of April, it being then the year 1341 Shire reckoning, on a quest of great treasure. The dwarf hordes of the king... I'm gonna put this here, actually. brain. Where was I? Okay. On a quest of great treasure, the dwarf hordes of the kings under the mountain, beneath Erebor and Dale, far off in the east. The quest was successful, and the dragon that guarded the hoard was destroyed. Yet, though before all was won, the battle of 5 armies was fought, and Thorin was slain, and many deeds of renown were done. The matter would scarcely have concerned later history, or earn more than a note in the long annals of the Third Age, but for an accident by the way. The party was assailed by orcs in a high pass in the Misty Mountains, as they went towards wilder land, and so it happened that Bilbo was lost for a while in the black orc mines deep under the mountains, and there, as he groped in vain in the dark, he put his hand on a ring lying on the floor of a tunnel. He put it in his pocket. It seemed then like mere luck. I kind of like this here, actually, even though it looks a little bit weird. Anyway. Trying to find his way out, Bilbo went on down to the roots of the mountains until he could go no further. At the bottom of the tunnel lay a cold lake far from the light, and on an island of rock in the water lived Gollum. He was a loathsome little creature. He paddled a small boat with his large flat feet, peering with pale, luminous eyes and catching blind fish with his long fingers and eating them raw. He ate any living thing, even orc, if he could catch it and strangle it without a struggle. He possessed a secret treasure that had come to him long ages ago, when he still lived in the light, a ring of gold that made its wearer invisible. It was the one thing he loved, his precious, and he talked to it, even when it was not with him, for he kept it hidden, safe in a hole on his island, except when he was hunting or spying on the orcs of the mines. Maybe he would have attacked Bilbo at once if the ring had been on him when they met, but it was not, and the hobbit held in his hand an elvish knife, which served him as a sword. So to gain time, Gollum challenged Bilbo to the riddle game, saying that if he asked a riddle which Bilbo could not guess, then he would kill him and eat him. But if Bilbo defeated him, then he would do as Bilbo wished. He would lead him to the way out of the tunnels. Since he was lost in the dark without hope and could neither go or on nor back, Bilbo accepted the challenge, and they asked one another many riddles. In the end, Bilbo won the game, more by luck, as it seemed, than by wits, for he was stumped at last for a riddle to ask, and cried out, as his hand came upon the ring he had picked up and forgotten, "What have I got in my pocket?" This Gollum failed to answer, though he demanded 3 guesses. The authorities, it is true, differ whether this last question was a mere question and not a riddle, according to the strict rules of the game, but all agree that, after accepting it and trying to guess the answer, Gollum was bound by his promise. And Bilbo... Oh, she's like falling. Okay. And Bilbo pressed him to keep his word, for the thought came... I don't know if I'm tightening this or not, actually. There we go. Okay. And Bilbo pressed him to keep his word, for the thought came to him that the slimy creature might prove false, even though such promises were held sacred, and of old, all but the wickedest things feared to break them. But after ages alone in the dark, Gollum's heart was black, and treachery was in it. He slipped away and returned to his island, of which Bilbo knew nothing, not far off in the dark water. There, he thought, lay his ring. He was hungry now, and angry, and once his precious was with him, he would not fear any weapon at all. But the ring was not on the island. He had lost it. It was gone. His screech sent a shiver down Bilbo's back, though he did not yet understand what had happened. But Gollum had at last leaped to a guess, too late. "What has it got in its pocket, sis?" he cried. The light in his eyes was like a green flame as he sped back to murder the hobbit and recover his precious. Just in time, Bilbo saw his peril, and fled blindly up the passage away from the water, and once more he was saved by his luck. I was trying to put the volume down, but I kind of like it all the way up. And you should probably watch this video all the way up, by the way. Best experience. Where the hell was I? For just as he ran, he put his hand in his pocket, and the ring slipped quietly onto his finger. So it was that Gollum passed him without seeing him, and went to guard the way out, lest the thief should escape. Warily Bilbo followed him as he went along cursing and talking to himself about his precious, from which talk at last even Bilbo guessed the truth, and hope came to him in the darkness. He himself had found the marvelous ring and a chance of escape from the orcs and from Gollum. At length they came to a halt before an unseen opening that led to the lower gates of the mines on the eastward side of the mountains. There Gollum crouched at bay, smelling and listening, and Bilbo was tempted to slay him with his sword, but pity stayed him. And though he kept the ring, in which his only hope lay, he would not use it to help him kill the wretched creature at a disadvantage. In the end, gathering his courage, he leaped over Gollum in the dark and fled down the passage, pursued by his enemies' cries of hate and despair. Thief, thief, Baggins, we hates it forever. Now, it is a curious fact that this is not the story as Bilbo first told it to his companions. To them, his account was that Gollum had promised to give it to him as a present if he won the game. But when Gollum went to fetch it from his island, he found the treasure was gone, a magic ring which had been given to him long ago on his birthday. Bilbo guessed that this was the very ring that he had found, and as he had won the game, it was already his by right. But being in a tight place, he said nothing about it, and made Gollum show him the way out, as a reward instead of a present. This account Bilbo set down in his memories, and he seems never to have altered it himself, not even after the Council of Elrond. Evidently, it still appeared in the original Red Book, as it did in several of the copies and abstracts, but many copies contain the true account as an alternative, derived no doubt from notes by Frodo or Samwise, both of whom learned the truth, though they seem to have been unwilling to delete anything actually written by the old hobbit himself. Gandalf, however, disbelieved Bilbo's first story as soon as he heard it, and he continued to be very cautious of the ring. Eventually, he got the true tale out of Bilbo after much questioning, which for a while strained their friendship, but the wizard seemed to think the truth important. Though he did not say so to Bilbo, he also thought it important and disturbing to find that the good hobbit had not told the truth from the first, quite contrary to his habit. The idea of a present was not mere hobbit-like invention. All the same, it was suggested to Bilbo, as he confessed, by Gollum's talk that he overheard, for Gollum did in fact call the ring his birthday present many times. That also Gandalf thought strange and suspicious, but he did not discover the truth in this point for many years, as will be seen in this book. Of Bilbo's later adventures, little more need be said here. With the help of the ring, he escaped from the orc guards at the gate and rejoined his companions. He used the ring many times on his quest, chiefly for the help of his friends, but he kept it secret from them as long as he could. After his return to his home, he never spoke of it again to anyone, save Gandalf and Frodo, and no one else in the Shire knew of its existence, or so he believed. Only to Frodo did he show the account of his journey that he was writing. His sword, Sting, Bilbo hung over his fireplace, and his coat of marvelous mail. The gift of the dwarves from the dragon hoard he lent to a museum, to the Mishel-delving Mathermouse, in fact. But he kept in a drawer at Bag End the old cloak and hood that he had worn on his travels, and the ring, secured by a fine chain, remained in his pocket. He returned to his home at Bag End on June the 22nd in his 52nd year, which was 1342, and nothing very notable occurred in the Shire until Mr. Baggins began the preparations for the celebration of his 111th birthday, which was in 1401. At this point, the history begins. I'm gonna be so honest. I don't even want to read the rest of this. I kind of just want to move on. Yeah, I think the next thing I'm going to read is going to be A Long Expected Party, which is chapter 1. Chapter 1. I'm probably not going to do that today just because my voice is failing me so miserably right now. I keep coughing, it's not good. So, yeah. That was the end of the prologue, sort of, minus the notes on the Shire records, which I hope you guys enjoyed. I know that I wasn't able to do the whole thing, and I'm sorry that, obviously I've been under the weather, I'm sorry about that, but I don't like editing, so you guys are just gonna have to see it muted out. But yeah, thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you found it relaxing. Again, I'm sorry that it took so long for me to get this one done and uploaded, but I hope you enjoyed it and found it relaxing. Alright, bye bye, good day. day or a good night.